I'll call the meeting at Carbon County Board of Commissioners to order. Please rise for a moment of silence, prayer, and a pledge of allegiance.
Father, bless us as we gather for this meeting. Guide our minds, hearts, so we will work together. Teach us to be generous in our outlook, courageous in the face of difficulty, and wise in our decisions. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
These proceedings are being recorded for the sole purpose of preparing accurate written minutes. Recordings are overwritten following approval of the minutes, eliminating all unofficial records of these proceedings. The first item is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting held December 7th, 2023.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes. Are there any guests concerning county business at this time? Hearing none, we'll move on.
Next item is we have the fall foliage parking and travel update by Mr. A.J. Jordan, Lantern Manager of Planning and Scheduling.
AJ, Angelia, we have Angelique Steck, our parking supervisor, with us as well.
Nice. Good morning.
Morning,
AJ. So we were just asked to come here to provide just a brief update of how it went this summer, but it's going to be a very quick recap, and I'm happy to answer any questions on top of that. So for everyone who isn't familiar, my name is AJ Jordan. I'm the Director of Planning and Scheduling for Atlanta, and we also oversee Carbon Transit. I'm here with Angelia. Introduction.
I'm the parking director for Carbon County.
So for a little background here, for anyone not aware, this summer we tried some new transit services on the beach bus and fall foliage service. And the beach bus ran over the summer months with serving Mock Chunk Lake from Nescahoning, Summit Hill, and Landsberg. The fall foliage shuttle ran for 4 weekends in October to serve the Fall Foliage Festival in Jim Thorpe and help out with parking concerns there. So on the screen here, we just wanted to go over how that service went. They're very different services, so you see some different numbers here. The beach bus, we operated it for 10 weekends throughout the summer, a total of 65 passengers. So modest ridership throughout the summer, but it did provide some nice access to the beach. We heard some really great stories about some seniors, especially in the Landsberg mid-rise, getting access to the beach for the first time, which was really exciting. And ultimately, it came out to a total cost of $2,846 for all those passengers. That service was never intended to form a profit. It was put out in conjunction with fall foliage service and the parking that goes along with it, and we'll discuss those numbers in a second. The fall foliage service cost quite a bit more, over 300 times, because we ran service every 10 minutes all weekend, so it was about $12,000 in cost, but we did receive 2,727 riders on those 4 weekends in October. And for reference, in all of last year, we had 4,000 riders for our entire 4,705 riders for all of Carbon County and service. So in 1 month, we did almost half of what we normally do in a year, which is really exciting. And in a typical month, we average about 350 riders. So for 2,700 riders in October, that is significantly more ridership than we've ever seen in Carbon County, and we were really excited about that. So with that ridership, we did a fare recovery of $3 per ride. So we got a fare recovery of $8,000, and the total service invoice for that was $3,980. So even though we were running, the upfront cost was over 300%, it was really only a modest final bill increase of 38%, for the invoice total for the entire summer being $6,826. We can come back to the slide if we'd like, but I'd like to move on to the parking numbers, which go along with that. You'll see these numbers again on Angelia's parking slides.
Yeah, so after the expenses, well, with the the bus service, the labor for the park rangers, portalets, wristbands that we purchased for everybody to wear when they were riding the buses, and paying for the beach bus service, the net revenue for the Mock Chunk Lake Reserve parking was $6,296.38, which was great because the first 2 weekends of the fall foliage were actually rained out, and the program still far exceeded all of our expectations. And actually, the very last day of the festival, we had a significant decrease in reserved parking, and it still wound up exceeding our expectations. The feedback from guests at the end of all of their rides when they came back to Mock Chunk Lake Park was all positive. It truly saved a lot of people the hassle of having to look for a parking spot when they were traveling through town. It took cars out of the queue circling around town trying to find a spot, which was great. I've actually had people call my office looking to see if we were going to do this program for any other festivals and like Winterfest and everything like that, which was great. And coordination for this program was absolutely on point. We coordinated with AJ from Lanta. We coordinated with Pocono Mountain Visitors Bureau. We set up a QR code for people to be able to scan and look this up. It was just absolutely great. I think that we should continue this in the future. It was a great program. It was not only beneficial for Lanta and the county, but it was beneficial for all the tourists and all the locals as well.
Yeah, and if we want to go over a couple lessons learned, because it wasn't perfect, it was the first year. We did run into a little bit of bus bunching issues, which is where, you know, we had 3 buses running in a circle every 10 minutes. And when they bunch up, when there's traffic issues in Jim Thorpe, we did encounter some longer wait times, you know, upwards of 20 minutes, which is a little long when you're waiting to get into Jim Thorpe. We are able to rectify that both with GPS tracking on buses, which are now on buses. We actually have real time on both of our buses on street now, and we'll have those for again next year if we run this service. And then we also experienced issues on Hill Road, which we need to have some additional coordination on with parkers kind of blocking the street and backing up some of our buses. So there was very active assistance with that, as far as I'm aware, within the borough, in the village center, I believe by the police.
Yeah, I was coordinating with Jim Thorpe Police Department. As soon as anybody would park where the buses were parking, they would let me know. I would let Jim Thorpe Police know, and we'd have them cleared by either a tow truck or just letting people know that they had to move. And actually, the last weekend, we were able to block off Packer Hill, or not Packer Hill, Hill Road. And it was only the buses and the shuttle services coming down that hill, which made things a lot better.
So I think that was our biggest lesson learned that we can take away and hopefully improve for next year. Additionally, we worked on staging up at Mock Chunk Lake. We originally had a staging area across from the parking area. We ended up moving it into the parking area. That helped with any sort of weather related incidents. There were some mud issues the first day. And it also just helped people queue up close to their cars and made it flow much better. So all around, I appreciate everyone involved because we went in with a lot of coordination and we learned a lot on the weekends of. And I agree with Angelia. I think it was a success, but we're happy to answer any questions on it.
AJ, does the ridership that you had, the combined ridership, does it impact in any way future funding for carbon transit and carbon transit specifically?
Absolutely. So one of the benefits of being a public transit service is we receive funding through formula programs, and it comes through PennDOT at the state level. Basically, every year they take ridership for all the agencies and then funding for statewide and divided by ridership. So any increase in ridership increases the share of the statewide funding that is coming back to the county. So seeing the numbers this year already, that number changes every year. It's not like, you know, you increase by 300%, you'll get an increase in 300% funding next year. But the pot of the share of the total statewide funds will increase for Carbon County next year because of this service, which is pretty exciting news. The more ridership we have, the more statewide dollars coming into the county we have.
And more statewide dollars results in what? I mean, what's the impact for, you know, John Q. Public? You
Sure.
know?
Well, you know, statewide dollars come into the carbon transit fund, which can help us with increased service hours on street if we would like to pursue that. Just kind of increased operations in the county, and that is for the system as a whole. So what we're discussing right now is CT Bus, which is our fixed route service in the county. But those funds come in and also help us with the CT shared by the paratransit service and their CT Flex service as well. So it really helps add just some additional funding to kind of even out the service and increase wherever we need to see increases.
Right. I think the other question is, what other, since this is successful, what other events or holidays should we really be looking at? 4th of July, Labor Day, when we have the overflowing problem, special events, the Winter Festival that they had, I think 2 years ago, was so overwhelming with the trains, etc. So what other events should we look at adding to transportation for the weekends or to the program?
I think like 4th of July, like big holidays like that, especially after Memorial Day. After Memorial Day, it starts to pick up, especially on Saturdays. Saturdays are probably the worst. I definitely think 4th of July, Labor Day weekends. And as it gets closer to fall foliage, you might even maybe push it a couple weekends before fall foliage. Because a lot of people try to beat the traffic of fall foliage by coming a little bit earlier, and it winds up overwhelming the town.
I would just bear in mind that, you know, during the 101 days of summer, Mock Chunk Lake Park becomes unavailable for the shuttle service. Doesn't mean you couldn't do it from another location. You know, school's out for summer, right? You have parking lots, things like that. So just being creative about it.
Yes, absolutely. I do just kind of recognize that I think this opens up just a kind of a new model for the public transit service in the county, in terms of being tourist and public oriented for parking shuttles and helping with our parking management. That auxiliary parking lot doesn't necessarily have to be the lake. We can talk about other locations as well, and just kind of work with those figures. So I would advocate, just in general, looking at weekend service. We found it to be very successful this summer for both different types of service. And I know we received just quite a few requests from people in the city wanting to come up to Jim Thorpe, and often don't because of parking restrictions here. So I think we can look at additional services north-south through the county as well, and better utilizing those Atlanta resources to get people into the county without impacting the parking issues. So I'm open to discussions. I can't speak to which weekends work best.
Well, I think look forward to further discussions, and hopefully we can come up with other alternative locations other than the park maybe, and pick out which events that draw the most and which we'd like to try first, add a couple a year maybe. But
I agree.
Yeah, I do have a question, not on this particular subject, but when we had the meeting a couple weeks ago, did you get any additional calls from people that were looking for other areas to be picked up? Remember, you were looking for people to call, and also, are you looking into it? I don't know, if Chris sent an email about advertising on the buses to offset the calls. I think that was one of the things that we were looking at, actually, when we handed it over. Like, that would be a good thing.
Yes, absolutely. So for a little context on that first question, our fixed route service was a flag stop service where you could wave the bus down, and we're shifting it to a bus stop only service. That was partly because we've got the new apps in real time for the buses. So we had a public meeting asking where people would like their bus stops. We did receive 3 requests for new bus stops, and we added those into the data. So those are on street. Now they're in the data, people are being picked up, and they will have bus stop signs before the official change on January 29th. So we did receive some good feedback.
And I just want to focus a little bit more on that, because people complain, well, they have an issue that a bus doesn't stop by them. But if you would have an area, a street that might have 3 people that request to stop there, that could be an additional bus stop.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's where I think it is, like, people have to get on the website and say, okay, this is where I want to be at, or where I want to be picked up. And then that could help the busing problem, instead of just sitting there, well, I can't get picked up on Delaware Avenue at a certain place in Palmer, but if there's 3 right there, that could be an additional bus stop.
Yep, absolutely. And that's one area where we really appreciate this partnership and this new arrangement. If anybody reaches out to Atlanta, those come back to the requests, and we are open to bus stops pretty much everywhere as long as we're able to meet ADA requirements. So we do work and go out and assess the stops to make sure it's safe to stop there before we put an official stop. But yes, the more the merrier.
Yeah.
And then your second question.
On the advertising.
Oh, advertising, yes, we did reach out to our contractor, Gateway Advertising, and Fast Signs, who's our contractor for bus wraps, to see where the advertising opportunities are. We're awaiting a response from both of those parties. Unfortunately, Fast Signs had a bit of a tragedy in the last week, so they're held up a little bit, but we are pursuing a response on that.
Yeah, any more questions by the board, from the board? If not, I'll open it up to the press for now. I know we have 1-0. Okay, so thank you very much for coming in, AJ,
Yeah,
and Julia.
and I would just like to extend a thank you to the entire commission for funding this. You know, it's a risk, and I'm really happy. Thank you so much.
Okay. We're ready to move on, I believe.
Okay, next item is the report of executive session.
One executive session held on Tuesday, December 12th, 2023 for personnel reasons.
Final adoption, 2024 budgets. For adoption, the 2024 budgets inclusive of the following: the operating funds budgets, expenditures totaling $59,207,207,229. Capital projects.
All right.
Expenditures totaling $4,452,584. And the special funds budgets, expenditures totaling $8,156,441.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Noakes?
No.
For a budget resolution for adoption, resolution number 23-042.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Noakes?
No.
The tax levy resolution number 23-043.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Noakes?
No.
Department reports, the budget transfer.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Noakes?
Yes.
There are no supplemental appropriations. Expenditures, approval of check numbers 240363 through 240566 for expenditures to the general fund clearing account, totaling $800,844.06.
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Noakes?
Yes.
The treasurer's report.
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Noakes?
Yes. At this time, we're going to recess our meeting of the commissioners, and I'll now call the monthly meetings of the salary board to order. Are there any guests concerning salary board issues? Hearing none, we'll move on.
The report of executive sessions held.
There was one executive session held on December 11th, 2023 at 3:30 p.m.
Our first item is report, Judge Surface.
Thank you. Under adult probation, we make a motion to change the rate of one adult probation specialist from $13.65 per hour. That's grade 2, step A, to $14.33 per hour, which is grade 3, step A, effective December the 18th, 2023.
Judge Surface?
Yes.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Noakes?
Yes. Any further business for the salary board? Hearing none, meeting adjourned. We'll now reconvene our meeting of the commissioners.
The next item is the personnel report for county department.
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Noakes?
Yes.
The acknowledgements for ports and row offices.
Motion acknowledged.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes, with the exception of the juvenile probation officer appointment. As a result of the court's continuing, disrespect, for the law, commonly referred to as Act 57 of 2020, for which, increases liability, perpetuates the risk, to county government, county taxpayers, and the public in general.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Correspondence was received as listed. Copies will be made available to the press on request. Adult probation for approval and execution. An award of funding in the amount of $60,635 from the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency for continuing county adult probation and parole grant, previously named the Grant and Aid, for the improvement of adult probation services through the reimbursement of eligible salaries of professional staff for the term of July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. This application was approved October 19, 2023, agenda item 23-496.
Move to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Archives for approval of service agreement with Reynolds Business Systems of Emmaus, Pennsylvania, for equipment in the archives department for 3 Canon reader printers, 2 microfilmers, 1 Minolta microfilm camera, and 2 Minolta reader printers for a total cost of $9,930. This represents a decrease of $546 due to 1 reader printer being removed. The term is January 1, 2024 through December 31st, 2024.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Advertising. For approval, authorize the advertisement of the reorganizational meeting of the Board of Commissioners, annual salary board, and Commissioners Meeting to be held on Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024 at 2 p.m.
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Boards and authorities, America 250, Pennsylvania, for approval. Appointment of Kim Worley of Lehighton, Pennsylvania, to fill the vacancy as Hardin County's representative to the America 250 PA program, effective December 14th, 2023, due to a recent resignation.
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Animal Shelter Advisory Commission for acceptance. A letter was received from Jason Bill submitting his resignation from the Carbon County Animal Shelter Advisory Commission effective November 6, 2023.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes, and I would ask that anyone that may be interested in serving on that board, submit a letter to the county, a letter of interest in serving on that, board.
Next item, insurance workers' compensation for approval and execution. The proposal received from Housing and Redevelopment Insurance Exchange, Harry, for workers' compensation insurance for calendar year 2024 in the amount of $409,067. This represents an increase of $10,192.
Move to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Planning and Development, CDBG, for approval and execution, the fiscal year 2022 cooperation agreement with the Community Development Block Grant Projects for entitlement and non-entitlement communities as per the attached listing.
Motion approved. Excuse.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
The Sheriff's Department for ratification. An estimate was received from AutoClear Security Inspection Systems of Pine Brook, New Jersey, to repair the PC combo box on the AutoClear 6040 X-ray unit located in the courthouse at a cost of $6,678 and a flat rate technician fee of $1,400 for a total of $8,078.
Motion to ratify.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
The CLEAR program for approval and execution. clear program agreement with Thomas Rutter to aid in locating and apprehension of defendants wanted on outstanding warrants for a 3-year term at a cost of $192 per month for year 1, $201.60 per month for year 2, and $211.68 for year 3.
Move to approve the next.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Solicitors report?
Thank you. For Mockchuck Lake Park, seeking a motion for approval and execution of a special activities agreement for the use of Mockchuck Lake Park by Marian Catholic High School of Tamaqua, Pennsylvania for their polar plunge, January 27th, 2024, an alternate date of February 3rd, 2024, pending approval by the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission.
Move to approve the next.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Next, seeking a motion to adopt resolution 44 of 2023, recognizing the 125th anniversary of Provoznik Flowers of Lansford, Pennsylvania.
Motion adopted.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes. Mr. Solicitor, if you would.
Whereas Provoznik's Flowers of Lansford has continuously served the residents of Carbon County since 1898, when it was founded by Michael Provoznik, who studied horticulture in Europe. He migrated to the United States in 1882 and spent time working as a gardener for a local mine superintendent. And whereas upon Mr. Provoznik's death in 1929, his son Michael Provoznik Jr. and wife Helen took over the business located at the family homestead on East Abbott Street in Lansford, then later relocated to West Ridge Street in the business district of Lansford in 1955. And whereas Mr. and Mrs. Michael Provoznik Jr.'s sons, Michael and Joseph, became the third generation to run Provoznik's Flowers until Michael Provoznik III passed away in 1977. And whereas in 1978, Joseph and Agnes Provoznik continued to run the business for the next 12 years until Megan Anderson, who studied horticulture at Temple University and had previously owned a flower shop, took over Provoznik's in 1990. And whereas Ms. Anderson continued to run Provoznik's with the same level of integrity and service as the previous 3 generations of the Provoznik family. And whereas Ms. Anderson provided several customer-facing value-added segments to the original business model, including unique gift items, a website, silk florals, and seasonal wreaths, for which she was recognized in the Wall Street Journal's Catalog Critic. And whereas, going forward, the business will be owned and operated by Sean and Dorothy Hartney, who will continue to serve the citizens of Lansford and surrounding communities by upholding the same quality and services that epitomizes Provoznik's Flowers. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the members of the Board of Commissioners of Carbon County hereby recognize the 125th anniversary of Provoznik's Flowers and extend their congratulations on this joyous celebration. Adopted by the Board of Commissioners this 14th day of December 2023. Yes. Next, for Parks and Recreation, seeking a motion for approval and execution of a special activities agreement for the use of the gazebo in Josiah White Park, along with a banner request by Jim Thorpe Tourist Agency for their annual Winterfest, February 17th to 18th of 2024. The banner to be displayed January 31st, 2024 to February 26th, 2024.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
And lastly, used equipment, seeking a motion for approval, used law books referenced in Resolution 40 of 2023, December 11th, 2023, was posted for sale and no bids were received. Now seeking authorization to dispose of those books.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Any further business? Hearing none, Commissioner reports, Mr. Honor?
The only thing I have is just a reminder about next week. We're launching our opiate campaign along with Monroe and Pike County, so I'm hoping that everybody
attaches to the next week's meeting and finds out what it's all about, because they will be coming here to explain what it's about, and it will be at each of the other counties also next week. And that is it.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yeah, I'll just preempt the potential of a comment on the budget. I did note that we combined all three funds together, whereas previously we had kind of done it individually. I do continue to have reservations on the capital project fund, but nonetheless, it is a budget that needed to be passed. It's a budget that I'm comfortable of saying did not in this year need a tax increase. And I would ask the public that as you concern yourself with the potential for a tax increase, which is imminent in the next year or two, the county will need one. But for this year, if you look at the general fund cash balances, but more importantly, if you look at the monthly cash flows, the debits and credits, you'll see we are in good shape. But that doesn't say that if action isn't taken within the next couple of years, we could be challenged. That's all I have.
I'd like to dispute that somewhat with a $5.3 million plus deficit again this year. Taking the general balance down to just over $1.5 million. And as you saw in the agenda again today, we passed how many things that are increases. Healthcare alone this year is going to be $550,000 more than last year. We passed another item on the agenda costing $10,000 a year more. We're looking at a salary increase, which is going to cost a great deal of money. And how can you continuously operate a budget at a deficit of over $5.5 billion? I want to remind the public that our income over the years from real estate taxes have not gone anywhere, have not been significant enough to offset the expenditures. This year alone, its projected revenue is only $168,000 more in tax revenues to pay all these additional expenses. We pass for an expenses in maybe 2 weeks, sometimes in 1 week, that exceeds that amount. And I cannot see us continuously spending all that money. You're right. We will have to do a tax increase. If nothing is done before next year, we are looking at a 3 mil tax increase. My comment to you, gentlemen, is if you want to spend money, step up to the plate and take responsibility for the tax increases. That's all I have. Meeting adjourned. Hey, 13.
So what would you like to see with this budget then? Do you want a tax increase this year or is proposing one for?
We should have been doing a minor tax increase, maybe over the last 2 or 3 years, even a $0.5 mil. People will accept maybe a $0.5 mil, but you turn around next year and have to increase the taxes by 3 mils. You know, that's going to hurt people more than anything. $0.5 mil 3 years ago, that would have put us probably about 250 ahead. You know, 2.5 million dollars roughly, correct? You know, ahead. We'd still have that fund balance, and maybe we could have waited at just minor adjustments over the years. But now you're just pushing it off, and we're just going to have one huge increase. Last year, we had to borrow how much money for tax anticipation note in lieu of a tax anticipation note and paid $39,000 interest. Yes, it was paid off early, but how much of those funds are we going to have available yet to, this year yet to do that tax anticipation note from the time January 1st expenses up until April when we start receiving revenue. So I think you're putting the public at more risk by not doing a little bit of increments over a period of time and nailing them all at one time. I think it's a great disjustice to the taxpayers of this county.
And my opinion of it is, we just have to stop overspending. And I think everybody has the same comment, or I give the same comment every week. We're entering into projects and we're giving money to other people outside our employees, that it should go to the employees. And I'll stand on that any day of the week. And if you look at the budget, there's enough money in there to give salary increases. There's projects in here that will probably never get done. And there's even projects in here that are costly that we are getting reimbursed half as grants. So I don't see the reason why we would need to increase taxes. And I think it's time to put the brakes on spending and invest more in our employees. I mean, like I said, we're giving money away where we shouldn't be giving money away. And it's time to put the brakes on it.
Well, why
It's time
didn't
to
you
give it-
make those suggestions this year?
Wayne,
Mr.
I've been
Auditor?
saying that to you,
Where-
and you
but
don't listen.
You have yet to come up with any one issue and say, let's cut this by so much. You have yet to do that.
Okay, you look at this, and this is on the budget. Are we going to do the bridge here? No, we're probably not gonna, because it has to be engineered. Nobody did it. This vault is on there. We're probably getting reimbursed for half of that money. There's so much on here, and there's enough money in there to give people a decent salary this year. And I said, it's time to put the brakes on overspending. Overspending, taxing people is a problem when you're wasting money. If we have to tax people that we have to, that we need the income, but I just can't see taxing people and wasting the money. Every project that we work on, if there's contingency in there, whatever that contingency is, that's what we spend. We okay contracts, and we didn't even enter into this project. In fact, we even took some of this out of this budget that we were taking the parking funds. And I think that was one of Chris's issues with the parking fund, maybe going into the general fund. And that should be used for things, the parking fund, maybe for the bridge, you know, and things like that. Use your head on what the expenses that we should use. And I said, it's time that we sit down here and quit wasting money and putting it on to the taxpayer. And the tax that was presented before was a tax that was going to probably take us until 2027. Why are we taxing people for 4 years from now? If we're going to tax them, then bring that thing up. You could have brought it up before. Okay, $500,000 every year, but every 4 years with the county, it's like tax the crap out of the people, and then it's the tax that we're benefiting on for 2027. Why are we taxing people before the tax is even due? Plain and simple.
Plain and simple, the bridge, you agree, has to be replaced, whether it's
Exactly.
this year or next year. It's work that has to be done. What about the 2 roofs that have to be replaced or repaired?
Yeah.
That's not in there yet, is it?
And,
It just
and,
came up this month.
and that's what I said. You have to pick your priorities that have to be fixed. The roof has
If
to be
we
fixed.
have the fund balance, we're gonna have to worry about that. And that's my point. If you have sufficient fund balance, you can do these projects when they crop up. We've been told that we can't get parts to this elevator anymore. They're no longer available. It broke down twice this year. Are we gonna be faced with replacing it? Yes or no? Yes or no?
You know, there is $400,000 in there for projects that are unforeseen projects. And that doesn't mean we have to spend the 400,000 in January.
Okay.
I think as we see where we're at, right now, with the budget, I'm sure there's a little bit of regret, from January 6, 2020, when a motion was made to reopen that budget, right? There was an opportunity to look at the budget, reassess the necessity of some of the costs associated with that. I was fortunate, having the opportunity for fiscal years 2017, 18, 19, and 20 to review the budget. I think probably one of only 2 citizens who actually looked at the budget from as best I can tell. And I was confident in 2020, in January, when I came in, that the county could comfortably and responsibly not tax the citizens for a 4-year period. And I'm glad that Commissioner Arner has stood with me these past 4 years to help ensure that we are being responsible and we are taking care of the citizens of Carbon County and only increasing taxes when it's absolutely necessary. Now, that time is coming, but it hasn't been these past 4 years.
But the increase, what you're suggesting, will be a lot higher than the $500,000 or $250,000 here and there. Is that correct?
I
How
cannot
much
assess
else
that.
is it gonna take to make up that 5?
I don't know, I don't say that because we don't even know what we're gonna, what our ending balance is gonna be in December next year.
And you don't plan for the future. That's my point, which you made a point to point out to me
Yeah.
that I do not look at the future.
No.
You are not looking at the future.
I think.
Any other questions by the
No,
media?
I think, Commissioner, that what actually will happen is you don't have to start building up that carryover all in one fell swoop. You do it incrementally. Maybe you go with $250,000, $500,000, next year and then wait a year and do it again. But what you're wanting to do is, again, fill the bucket completely up in one fell swoop. And again, you still have to look at the debits and credits, the flow of cash in and out every month, not simply the carryover money. Now, if the county would start doing multi-year forecasting, you would be able to predict with high reason or high probability what increases are necessary. But we continue to do 1-year budgeting. And again, it's always an emergency because of that. We don't forecast multi-year.
I wish you'd make up your mind. You just suggested quarterly, small increments, in which is what I projected. Spend it down gradually and adjust as needed over the years. But you failed to do that. That's my point. Any other questions by the media?
Good question, though.
Are you gonna be point to that resolution?
No, I'm not.
Okay, working.
Yeah.
I can't. So we still talk after the organization.
Yeah.